Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your Drive Home Podcast. I'm your Drive Home Podcast host, Ryan. Here with another one. Really kind of trying to find my rhythm here. Oh, man, I just realized that this is not in the shot here. Hang on. So, lately this show has been the source of, all my frustration. Trying to get things working. My set is a complete disaster right now. And I have a guest coming on. So I've had a lot of guests. I've found that I've had zero issues booking a guest this season. And before I did. So I've been asking literally everybody. And I got a good friend of mine here. Actually, he's not in yet, but I do have someone coming on in a little bit. Just got to take a breath, Sometimes it's just, I've been really, I just did an episode the other night, man. That's why everything's such a disarray down here. Just stuff thrown around. We had a little pizza party down here the other day. Friday night. Tim, Kelly, I'm a little slicey. Yeah, Tim, Kelly, Jeremy, Demery was back on with us. We had my good friend Josh Watson, who I've talked about many times on the show. I've never actually had on the show. He was here, and man, that was a late night. We didn't get started till about 10 o'clock. I know Jeremy came after his gig. He was doing comedy. I don't know if that was with Secret Society or what, but everything's just been kind of in I don't know if I have it's a keeping up with the Joneses mentality right now, where I'm just trying to, you post a reel and I see people pumping out content left and right, and it's discouraging, man. I'm lucky if I get one reel done in a month from one project. It's just, I don't have the time, man. I work full time. I got a band. So I had this weird realization the other day. Maybe I'll bring it up with my friend Michael Butler here. Let me see if he's on the line. But sometimes when you're doing too much. Oh, and by the way, it's your Drive Home Podcast. I'm your drive. I don't know if I even said that. My goodness. Dude, let me tell you guys. I just slept 18 hours off and on. I had a gig, and the day after that podcast, today is Memorial Day, which it will be probably the 4th of July by the time I post this. But I had a good conversation on that episode I did with Jeremy. I asked him, because he does a podcast. I'm like, dude, you ever just have to be like, let me find a rhythm here, because if you have that keeping up with the Joneses mentality, that'll suffocate you. Well, let me see here. Let me start this meeting. Looks like my microphone is muted. It's the joys of doing these videos. I was watching Rover the other day, and they had someone on doing a Zoom meeting like this, which, by the way, this is not Zoom. I'm going back to the WebEx Meet. That's a whole nother thing, man. Trying to get my program here to work with this. I went down the rabbit hole reading all types of stuff, and apparently there's no way. There's just no way to do it. I used to do it on here. There's no way to share my media with my friends anymore unless I do go through the whole long route of it. It used to be on the fly. I pay for this stuff, and it doesn't work. It's crazy. Anyways, Rover, they tried doing a little, meeting or whatever with someone live, and it was on their end. So if they aren't unmuted on their end, because now I am not muted anymore, that was the problem. And they're live on the radio. So thank goodness this is not live. Where is he? I don't see him. He did ask if we were going to be still doing 2 o'clock, and I just sent him the link. I didn't really say, I don't know if he was busy or hoping to do a later time. If that's the case, I don't know if I can. It is Memorial Day, like I mentioned, and out of nowhere, my mom wants me to come over. So, kind of have to do this real quick. Unfortunately, I have so much content, so many episodes that I got to get to. Like I said, this will probably be the 4th of July by the time I come. Maybe I'm shooting for September, in all honesty. I'm not even kidding you guys. I've been so busy. But yeah, I got, let me see if he messaged me. Hold on. I sent him this. I don't know if I told him that I was switching back to WebEx Meet. Let me reread our conversation. Dude, let me tell you guys, I've had another thing. Listen, and I hope this doesn't translate poorly. You know, I don't have a lot of friends, so I try to the friends that I do have that reach out. I try to be there for them. I try to help them out. But I got my own problems, man. I got my own stuff going on. I'm trying to do this. So I'll just go ahead and say I did it again. I bought tickets for an event and I didn't go. It was the Almost with Emery. They were playing at Mahal's. I had this realization the other day when I was playing a gig. And we went out to Barrio before the gig. We played at Coda over in Tremont area over here in Cleveland. And man, all I can say is we're getting ready to play. We go out to eat. I'm talking about this show that I'm going to go to. I thought it was this weekend, the 26th of May. And I'm talking about the show. I'm kind of excited about it, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, man, I think it's this Sunday. And I look at the ticket because my singer, he was like looking it up. I don't see it. I was like, oh, dude, it was 6 days ago. I missed it and didn't even realize it for a whole week. So this is the second time this has happened to me where I've kind of played myself in a way. I've bought ticket to an event and didn't go because I didn't write it in my calendar or whatever the case may be. Too tired. I did this with Jeremiah Watkins about a month ago. I bought a ticket to see him. In my defense, that was a late night comedy show, like 11:30 it started. So I had good reasons for for not. Let me hit record here. Been a while since I've done these. But yeah, I found that when you have too much going on, like, you know, I've said this a billion times, man. I think I've hit a wall with doing so much. You start to let others down. You start to let yourself down. It's not good. It's not good. And I don't know why he's not responding. So I haven't really done one of these in a while to kind of talk about. I've had some health issues going on with my stomach. Some issues where I've had to change my diet. I believe I talked about this briefly where I'm making these smoothies that taste like garbage. Ugh. I was making those. Yes, same as last time. And so I'm making these smoothies and I realized, you know, lettuce and stuff has a lot of fiber in it already. You know, so I think it was making it worse. Just making life worse for me. And it was ruining my life. Honestly, it was ruining my life. I was doing too much. I was taking probiotics and I was taking what else was I taking? All types of shit. Just to, you know, align my stomach. I went and saw a GI doctor. And I just scheduled my first colonoscopy at age 37. So, all right. I heard that there's like a new type of blood test that they're coming out with that can detect colon cancer and all that type of stuff. For people that are afraid of getting a colonoscopy, I've heard good things about it. I've heard that it's not as bad as the stigma of it is. You know, as a guy, yeah, it's not very flattering. I get it. But from what I understand, if they knock you out, they give you Twilight or whatever, it's really not bad. You don't even notice it. You're going to be dropping some tremendous air farts, I guess, for a while, from what from what I've heard. But you know, they used to say 40 age. Actually, I think it was age 50. Then they changed it to age 40. Now they're saying age 35. And honestly, I'm past the age, man. I've had health issues my whole life. I hate to say, but I really need to. So a couple episodes ago, I did one with my friend Chrissy Strong, and you could tell in that episode, my stomach was like way out to here, like I was pregnant. I'm going to post a photo over here of that, just a still of that. I was just full, like I get hit my stomach, and it had like a note, like a drum, like a doom, 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 an actual tone to my stomach. It was gas, or it was, I don't know what it was. Water? I was drinking a ton of water. I also had a health flare up with my kidneys, with my just creatine and stuff that I've been man, it's been rough, man. On top of being stressed with everything, I don't understand. I need to start saying no to things. So I actually did say no to something recently. It was a wedding anniversary. Someone asked me to DJ their wedding. This is the second time someone's asked me to DJ a wedding, I guess, because like some people, they just don't know anything about audio or know anyone, so they'll go for their one person they know that has any slight idea on how it works. And this is the second time someone's approached me. These people go to my parents' church where I serve. Actually, they used to go to the church, and then they quit going for something weird. I saw them at a funeral, actually. That was the only reason why I saw them. They were at a funeral, and they were like, hey, this is coming up, and what are you busy this day? And I looked it up, and I'm like, I don't know, I'll have to find out. Next thing I know, they're like, oh, thank you so much, thank you so much for doing this. So I'm like, whoa, when did I agree to this? What happened? I don't recall agreeing to anything. So the other day, I just was like, listen, I'm sorry, you guys. Before it gets any closer to on the calendar to this event, I told them over a month advance, like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm so sorry. Like, it's just I got so much going on, dude. I got so much going on. I feel like some of it might be a distraction. I don't know. I realize a lot of it I kind of put on myself. You know, doing all this, doing the podcast. No one's telling me to do this, but it is nice. It is nice. It's certainly something to do in your free time. But lately, I don't know, man. I've just been obsessing over it. Like, I'll do an episode, and right when I'm done, I want to work on it. And I did that a couple episodes ago. I went upstairs right when everyone left. It was a Friday night, and I sat on my couch on my tablet editing almost a whole episode. Like a quick sweep through, just kind of putting it all together. I did it in one evening, and it was, next thing I know, it was after midnight. I'm like, oh my God, I need to go to bed. So, yeah, I'm learning. You got to have a rhythm going. You got to take small steps. You got to, don't kill yourself. Do it as it comes to you. I don't know, man. Shit, I don't know. It's not like I have a bunch of people watching anyway, so I can put it out whenever I want. I don't have to keep up with the Joneses. So maybe it's a little lesson. I think missing that concert and not realizing it a week later almost gave me like PTSD, dude. I'm not trying to sound offensive again to anyone who has that, or just throw that term around. But it was like a shell shock moment for me when I realized that right before playing the show too. And I played like garbage. I felt like reality had finally sunk in. It finally had settled in for me. I was just doing too much, man. And, you know, whenever this comes out, it might not come out till next freaking Memorial Day for all I care. Whatever, man. It'll come out when it comes out. But it's just frustrating. Because you want it to be good, you know? You want it to sound good. You want it to be good. And it can be frustrating. That's all I'm going to say. So, I don't know where this dude is. I'm going to throw a load of laundry in while I'm waiting, so hang on. What a disaster. What a disaster. Let's see if that works. All right, there we go. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you say something? I don't hear you.
Hang on a second. There we go.
Oh, man. Hold on 1 second. I might have to turn you up from the computer. Hold on.
I don't know how to do that. Shouldn't diddle with that. Check 1, check 2.
You're like coming out of my actual computer for some reason. Like, yeah, like your audio's coming out of... Say something real quick.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're not...
There we go.
Yeah, you're so strange. You're coming out of my computer. So, first of all, I thought I had told you 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I've been on here an hour, just long enough to screw things up completely.
I forgot you were in a different time zone.
Yeah, I was fiddling with things and messing with stuff I had no business doing, and I was trying to get some screen sharing content together so I could share some videos with you. And I did something when I was doing that. I did something where my microphone and anything for this program in particular started coming out of the computer, even though everything else I can hear through my interface, but just this program is not coming out of, and it's a big issue because I'm not actually capturing what you're saying at all. So it really, really sucks. And then I had issues with getting the video working, which is why I was over on the couch just now trying to get any camera to work. Man, this is terrible. Let me see. There we go. All right. Now that worked. And I think I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Good grief. Yes,
you hear me now?
I can. I know you can hear me. You can't see me because I'm not over there. But
right.
Give me one hot second. I'll get seated over there. Whew. Goodness gracious, man. So sorry about that. So sorry about the terrible view from my couch.
It's all right, dude.
But
I've got a really boring wall behind my desk now with one and painting on it.
Oh,
so, and then
it looks good, man.
Right there, that thing right there used to be a home security system. My wife lived here by herself.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a piece. Long ago, in the dark ages, the pre-Starlink country living was not very well connected.
Oh, okay. Hold on, I gotta make sure I'm recording real quick. Hold on. This is terrible. Sorry, man. Yeah, this is not ideal at all. I got like I have like, so down here, I wish I could, I've had so many issues, man. So this program, it's called ManyCam, and I can connect. This is normally where my co-host sits. And then I have a chair by my computer, and then I got another couch over here. And I used to be able to connect all of my cameras through this, like if I'm doing a virtual thing, and people could see different cameras, pull content on the fly. And I was going down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out why I could no longer select Minicam as my virtual player. And apparently there's a whole forum, a whole online forum of people complaining about this, and they've talked with Apple. Apparently I use Mac, so it's an iOS issue. Like Windows, you can still do it, even though I pay for this shit. It's so stupid.
So I feel like that there are different right for iOS or right for Windows, and they say, "Oh, we can make it work for both." Can you really though?
Yeah. I think I know that things are always changing, always updating, and all I know is when I recently updated, that feature was no more. And I was doing every type of loophole, running it through Chrome browser or Firefox or whatever. Nothing seemed to work, unfortunately. So, and now my camera doesn't want to work. So I bought these 4K cameras. Before they were 1080p cameras. So this is a 4K one. It's a little too far away. The other one's a lot better for these web episodes, but it is what it is, man. I had to get it going, but thanks again.
Well, my apologies for being an hour late.
Oh no, that's cool. So wait, so let me. So was I right about that, or was it just miscommunication?
You just said 2 p.m.
I probably
did
just
not make any mention of time zone, and I completely brain farted.
Right.
I know that we talked about it the first time,
and I looked it up, and I'm like, there's only an hour difference from you're from DeBerry, Texas. Is that where you're at right now? Okay, so yeah, so that's only an hour difference. That's weird. I guess I forget Texas is so big. There's like different time zones, right? So there's like
no, all of Texas is in the central time zone.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I always think of Ohio as central United States, but you're on Eastern time zone.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, and I try to. I have other guests from other areas. My friend Chris, he lives in Austria, so I think that's like an 8-hour difference. So I really got to do the math when I have him on. I want to. Right. Those I usually have to do early in the morning because that's like evening to him. So, but dude, thanks for coming back on. And I know we talked a little bit briefly online, kind of catching up. Yeah, and it's so funny. So doing like these are so different from. Sometimes I get in this mentality where I forget like this isn't so much catching up. This is like more of a show atmosphere. It's more of a entertainment, and it can be it can come off a little disingenuous when it's not. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to catch up on here with my friends. Right. I want to be able to. We could talk about stuff, but we have lives outside of doing this. And even like when we do these episodes, like on Friday nights when I have a whole crew down here, sometimes we'll have like 5 or 6 people talking at once. It's chaotic. Yeah, that's how it was Friday, man. We did one Friday night and it was chaos. I had my co-host, his girlfriend was over here on the other couch. I wish I could switch from here. I had my buddy Josh, and then I had this my friend Jeremy, who's a local comedian here in Cleveland. He's been coming on a lot and helping me out. He has a pretty good podcast, not weird, just homeschooled podcast. He's a cool dude. I actually was in a band with him back in the day, and he's really funny. And sometimes I go on his podcast and we kind of go back and forth and promote each other's shit. Just do the whole collaboration thing on Instagram and get more followers. Whatever's clever. That's what I always say. So
nice. Yeah, man, the online content space, I'm just now starting to kind of like try to figure out bits and pieces of it through the music, and it's not my forte, and sometimes I'm just aggravated because I'll be like, oh, I haven't done anything in like 3 days,
right?
And but at the same time, I've got like a job and 2 small children and a marriage that I'm trying to keep going.
Dude, exactly.
Only so many hours in the day, and I'm getting fat too. I need to get back in the gym. Oh my goodness, my pants don't fit anymore. Like, this is not good. It's not good. That post 35 metabolism. No joke.
Oh, you got to watch, man. Once you get up there, I was just talking about this. Just changing my diet. I recently had some health issues, and you know, you got to take care of yourself. And sometimes, like, I started doing something I never thought I would do, blending and making like mason jar. Like, I'll buy like a bag of frozen berries from Walmart, and then get some kale or whatever, throw it in a blender, and then drink like one of those at least every other day or something like that. They taste terrible, but you know, you get like, you know, some peanut butter, something that kind of masks that whole like kale taste. It tastes like honestly, it tastes like you're like the grass, like your lawnmower. You know, it's what it smells like too. It's terrible, but you got to take care of yourself.
Well, I'm blessed because my wife, she makes a fairly balanced, you know, kind of diet for us.
Yeah.
I'm getting better about portion control, but then, with the fruits and vegetables and getting enough protein, the blender is where it's at. I definitely love the frozen fruit, and then we also have a no kidding commercial orchard. It's like 7 minutes from the house.
Oh wow!
So it just came out of strawberry season. They're in blueberry and peach season, so we'll go get a whole bunch of fruit and put it in the freezer.
Wow!
And that stuff will be great. But I put that in with either milk or water and protein powder, and that's like either like on the go breakfast or post workout shake,
right? And
just fill it up full of all that good whole food that are, you know, mass produced grocery stores just don't really carry anymore. You know?
No, and a lot of it is full of just garbage. Just, you know, it's all processed.
And the food dyes are some of the worst possible things you can put in your body. And you start looking at the labels, and everything,
right?
Everything,
right?
And they're bad for your reproductive health. They're bad for your mental health. They're bad for your musculoskeletal. They're just bad for everything. So we try to get the most whole food we can. And there's a co-op in Carthage that does all farm to table stuff. They got people that got fresh eggs, which we don't need. We've got our own chickens. But like whole milk and whole dairy products.
Okay.
Grass-fed poultry and pork and beef and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
The flip side of it is, though, everybody's trying to pay the bills, paying, you know, $400 on electricity and $300 on insurance and this and that and the next thing. So, I mean, the cost of everything is just going. It's almost like, man, it'd be easier if we just didn't eat.
Right. I know. It's sad.
And I've got two small children that eat like, I mean, you know the big hole he kicks the dude down in 300 in the beginning. This is Sparta. I feel like that's where all the food goes for my kids.
Oh yeah, bottomless
and
pits.
They're 2 and 10 months. Like I'm gonna have to go out and just like start killing wild animals once again. Stuck in the freezer.
Man, I couldn't imagine. My buddy Josh, who was just on Friday, he was saying the same thing. Man, he's got 3 kids, 3 mouths to feed. They're bottomless pits when it comes to food, and you want to make healthy choices for them at the same time. So it's got to be tough, and you know.
Well, I don't know. It just depends. I've got lots. Like I'm apparently a hard ass as far as millennial parents goes, because I'm like, this is what we have.
Yeah.
This is not a menu. This is not a restaurant. We don't have a menu. We don't have orders. Order options. Like this is what we made. If you don't want to eat it, then be hungry. Like.
Right. That's it. Yeah. So funny. It's all about the kids roll the house here up north. I'll be honest with you. That seems to be the trend. At least even just today. That just seems to be the culture. Is a lot of parents want they let their kids run the house. It's insane.
They want to be their kids. They want to be their kid's buddy.
Right.
They don't want to be the responsible like authority figure.
Exactly.
And I don't know what causes people to be like, oh, I don't want to tell them no. Like. You have a responsibility as a parent to like produce a productive and to a certain extent socially acceptable, although that can be even that is a loaded statement today.
Right.
Adult. And if they don't learn how to be a responsible, they're not going to learn it from anybody else. They're certainly not going to learn it from society.
Oh no. I think society is the perfect example of where we're like of how do we get here? You know what I mean? It's because of poor parenting. And I don't have any kids. I can't really say too much on it, but you know, I often think like if I did have kids, I remember how my parents raised me, And there are, obviously there's no guidebook to parenting, and but I don't see myself taking the same approach that they did with me. I was also an only child, so I had their undivided attention my entire life, all the way to this day. Still, I mean, I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm 37, but it's got to be tough, man, to raise kids, and you want them to make the right decisions. I get why some parents let their kids make their own choices, and obviously you raise girls different than boys. Again, I have no idea how these are all just cliches I've heard, but you look at society and you're like, man, who raised y'all, like
right.
What's going on, especially the stuff I see here, man. It's insane.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So, and I know we talked about it last time, I taught undergraduate pilot training for 4 years, and the best synopsis of that job was to teach highly motivated people how to fail in a safe environment. Give them a little bit of room to make the wrong decision and realize what the consequences of that are. So back and talk about how to do it right the next time. And I feel like that's really parenting, and the scale is constantly graduated based on their mental, physiological, and spiritual maturity.
Yeah.
When they're really little, he has not learned that the edge of the bed means his 10-pound nug is going to drag him down. He's not figured out gravity.
Right.
So that is not a lesson. That's not a failure that I can let him continue through.
Right.
Because he's just not learning from it. So you're like, okay, well, put up safeguards to keep you falling off the bed. Conversely, when I tell my daughter, go outside, keep your shoes on, and don't kick her out of those ant piles. She knows what ants are. And, I can tell her that enough times. It's like, okay, you've demonstrated that and then, sometimes you got to let them kick the ant pile, and they get bit a couple times, and they're like, oh, that's what you meant. That sucked. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Those opportunities to fail. Now, I'm not going to let her get completely ate up with fire ants because that'll put her in the hospital.
Right.
But 1 or 2 ant bites on the foot, lesson learned. And then she's just like, every time she sees an ant pile, you watch her come to run around, come to a halt, go around. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to go through that.
Yeah, that's great. That's wild, man. Yeah. Another thing I was kind of going to go ahead and say, and I don't know how you were raised, but I know my dad was rough on me, and I'm sure because his dad was rough on him, and so on and so forth. And I just remember, and obviously oh no, I just lost my monitor of you. Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
You glitched there a minute ago, and then you came back.
Yeah. I have 2 monitors, one in front. Oh, there we go. I'm back. I wonder why that cut out just now. But yeah, my dad, whatever. I'm recording on this, so if it dropped off, I can pull it. Dude, I've had so many issues with this thing, man. I think what I need to do is have a computer just for the video, and then another computer just for the audio, because I like to record my audio on Pro Tools so I can get it sounding good, used all the bells and whistles in there and everything, and instead of using you pull the audio from this session that I'm recording, it sounds all digital sounding. It's just not as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Anyways, yeah, I look at how I was raised and how my dad was probably raised. And back then, there was little to no education on. Now, again, there's no right or wrong way to parent, but there was no. I don't know. I don't know. It was just different times, I guess. And I couldn't see myself being as just brutal, not brutal, but just I don't even know, man. I can think of so many circumstances where it just their logic really didn't make a whole lot of sense. I get it, but not to go down a whole rabbit hole with all this, but I just see myself taking a different approach than what the way that they did, letting I kind of going back to me being an only child, I was a little bit smothered, a little bit if I even driving, that was just going anywhere, just getting my life, everything, just my whole life, man. It was always under the microscope. And I think that was why I started playing in a lot of metal bands and punk bands and started being a little rebellious and against the grain, if you will, sort of, because I was just like, I was just trying to see what else was out there. You can only keep your kids sheltered from so much. Right. Eventually, they're gonna see the world for what it is, and
well, in this day and age with technology, it is like it's just my kids love to grab the cell phone. They're just around. They like to put the camera on selfie mode and that kind of stuff, and they love to watch. My daughter loves to watch the TV. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, that's the thing. And I mean, it's like 3 times a day. You're like, Daddy, I want to watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Like, I know you do, but something else, And talking to other people that have kids, we're planning on homeschooling our kids. I was homeschooled. My wife was homeschooled.
Yeah,
we know, and it's just a way to kind of avoid some of the things that I'm watching other friends of mine that have kids in middle school and high school, and the social media, and the cyberbullying, and then all the just. I mean, having a device in your hand that had access to everything on the internet, I could. There's 0%. There's no way. There's no way.
Dude, I remember my senior year, there was one kid in my class who I went to a career center. So this was actually a criminal justice class that I was taking. And he was the only kid that had a cell phone in school. And he just sat there and was texting. And the teacher didn't say anything. And the dude, it was funny. He actually dropped out, ended up failing. And funny enough, I work in the Justice Center. I saw him. He's a cop now. I never thought that guy would actually make it through. I don't know how he made it through the police academy, but he did. And I saw him recently. I'm like, but I remember when I saw him, I'm like, I remember he was the only kid in school who had a phone. And he was like the cool kid because he had a flip phone. No one else had a phone. And I just remember being like, seeing him and his just unmotivation. He just was not interested in learning. It was actually distracting for me because I have ADD. I would pay attention to him not learning and then also not be learning because I'm distracted by him being distracted by his phone. So I can only imagine these kids today being told they can't be. I don't know if they tell them they can't bring their phone. I don't know. I don't even know what age a kid can get a phone. I don't know anything about it. It's something.
It depends on the parents. I mean, I've got some parents, some friends who have kids that are really involved in like whatever, whether it's theater or dance or cheer, sports or whatever, and they go and they're like, okay, they have a phone. There's like I remember when I first got my flip phone, I'm in college, I'm texting. And it was back when it was like 39 cents a text message or whatever. You only called people after 9 p.m. because that's when the minutes were free. Like stuff that you tell kids today, and they're like,
"Oh, I know,
it's not, there's no way, man." It's like, no, it totally was. I also remember the internet before Google. So like there was no like browsing. There was no social media on the flip phone. It was just calls and texts, and maybe like your 3 megabit camera. Whatever.
But the memory card, you got to put the memory card in.
The memory card in there, yeah.
Actually, I like that. You could take that thing out, put it in your computer. It was actually pretty versatile.
That was a lot better. I wish that iPhone still had that.
Me too.
Memory.
Man,
now they want to sell you a new $1,000 phone every year.
Oh, and then they'll charge you for, you want extra cloud.
Yeah.
I pay for 2 terabytes of cloud, but however. I learned this because I do like some of these episodes are like 3-4 hours long when we're down here just, bullshitting. And I put them in the cloud because I want to get them off my device. But apparently it actually doesn't go in the cloud. It still stays locally on your device and takes up space on your device. So that way you can have easy access to it. Isn't that the whole purpose of the cloud?
Well, so you can set that. And I had that before. So that's a setting at least in the phone. I don't have a MacBook because
yeah.
I want one. I just don't have. I just got a new iPad because my 2016 iPad 2 finally ate it falling off
Really?
the couch and the screen shattered. Yeah, dude, that thing lasted a long time.
Oh, it shattered. Okay.
Yeah, I shattered the screen. I was like,
Okay.
So I've got iPad 10, whatever it is.
Okay.
Regular ones, the $399 ones. And then an iPhone. And for a while there, it was because I was trying to access video clips and music stuff that I was trying to edit, but we have bad, spotty reception out here in the sticks.
Yeah.
And so I actually went to the settings and figured out how to save particular and keep them locally on the device because they were just like, oh, it's in the cloud and you don't have an internet service. You can't get a hold of it. See the thumbnail, but you couldn't, pull up the full quality.
Right.
So that is iOS products is really just, I feel like so many people just barely scratch the surface of it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And then when you get into content production, it really is like I was an Android guy for a long time. And then I picked up my first iPhone in 2020. And I was like, this is not only idiot proof, but it's idiot proof on the surface. And then once you dig deep, then it's like an actual production tool. It's not just, a mindless screen. So yeah, I'm a big Apple. It's a learning curve, and I don't feel like there's a really great method for Apple teaching people how to use it. You just got to figure it out on your own, which I honestly prefer because in most cases, when the company tries to teach you how to use something, it's either ridiculously technical for no reason or written for the lowest common denominator, people with an IQ of room temperature.
Yeah,
and you can't. The same reason I can't listen to audiobooks because, like, dude, I could read this so much faster. You're killing me with your pace, reading pace.
Oh, I had an issue just recently. One thing I don't like about Apple is sometimes they'll, like, I had an issue, like I was saying, with the audio, pulling the audio from the video, unfortunately puts it in mono. So I'm trying to get the rest of my project, the first half's recorded it in Pro Tools and stereo, then now the rest is left and right, and it's disorienting to whoever's listening or definitely listening. And I'm like, okay, what can I do to fix this? And I saw that you can put it in iMovie and abstract the audio and basically just double that mono track. But like you open iMovie and it's just an empty template. Nothing pops up to tell you what to do. You got to learn the whole freaking thing. Like, throw me a bone here. Like, tell me at least point me in the right direction because I'm trying to get this out and posted and get to bed. Like you were saying, you only got so much time when you got to work. I mean, dude,
and there's so many of those like apps that come already on like GarageBand and iMovie and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like I think that now, I don't know. I feel like now Apple kind of has the idea that if you're a customer, you're a returning customer from a long time, or you're a kid, and for whatever reason, kids are able to pick up these things and just find everything.
Yeah.
Minimal effort. I don't know if it's because
sometimes
brains aren't. Well, yeah. I don't know if it's because their brains aren't cluttered up with all the stuff that we have rumbling around in ours. Like my daughter's figuring out how to so she could take it out of airplane mode. Find Disney Plus, pull up her show.
Wow.
Look for what she's looking for.
Wow.
Get the camera, take pictures of things in front of her, take the pictures of herself.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude.
Insane. Yeah, they used to sell like tablets for kids. They don't need those. They can figure it out. Like as if a regular
I think for a parent, the tablet for the kids are the ones that you can restrict, and it's just it's only got so much on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You can make sure they're not on your Wi-Fi or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense because because these kids they find out you can download certain filter apps or whatever you can get around. There's workarounds, and again they're smart enough to figure that out. They can they'll figure it out.
I know a gal with 3 little boys, and they figured out how to change the Face ID on the iPhone from her face to their face.
Whoa, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I don't know how to do it.
Wow.
She's trying to open her phone, looks at it, she's like, that's my phone. That's your phone. How'd you do that? And the kid's just like, I mean, these kids are barely conversational at this point, but they're like, my face unlocks the phones now.
That's
Look
insane.
The iPhone is mine now.
That's crazy. I didn't even. Yeah, there must be a setting, and if you go to like accessibility, there's a lot of things in there that you can really hone in, and there must be a setting where you can do multiple faces or whatever.
something. I don't know.
Insane.
But like, I don't have Face ID, or I don't use any biometrics. I've got a good old fashioned 6-digit numeric code.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't, and that's just, I'm not gonna say, like, some people are like, "Well, man, if you use your Face ID, then they got your face." Camera that looks at your face, jackass, like
All the time.
you know.
Yeah,
Or
your computer.
Somebody posted, if you use Face ID, the government has your face, and somebody's like, wait until they find out about driver's licenses.
Right. And fingerprints that we all gave them as kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got my first time I got fingerprinted was, I want to say it was like 6, and I was at a, you know how they do job fairs at schools or whatever, and I think there was a police officer, and they're like, all right, you want to get fingerprinted, and yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that went on record the moment I did that.
You're just gathering biometric data on.
Right. I'm not kidding. Yeah, I remember. I remember that.
I don't doubt it at all, dude. There's,
crazy.
I don't think that this is a politics podcast. We can just like stiff arm the. We'll just stiff arm. It's an interesting year. It's been an interesting year so far.
Oh,
It'll be a more interesting year.
Yeah.
It's Memorial Day. The thing that I tell everybody is like, look, I'm not your life coach or whatever else. Just go be represented in your government. Go to the polls and vote for where they're spending your money and who you want to represent you, and then you get what you pay. You get what you ask for.
Yeah.
After that, we all have that civic duty. And
Yeah.
if you want to talk, we can get into it more. Ins and outs more if you want to. But for the most part, tell everybody like, look, you cannot. And I tell kids, especially young kids just graduated high school, like, look, you could bitch about how everything is going all the time, but if you're not voting, you're not being active in your own governance, then shut up. I don't want to listen to you.
Right.
You are more to blame for all the crap.
Yeah.
Like, what about all these taxes? I'm like, welcome to adulthood. And who you vote for is going to directly affect what that tax bill is like.
Exactly.
And on the local level, way more than anywhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's election year. Everybody listen to this podcast. If you do nothing else, I don't care if you like me or don't like me. Just go vote, please.
Mm-hmm.
Go vote. Unless you're in California, don't go vote if you're in California. We don't want.
Unfortunately, I have a lot of listeners in India, in other countries where they don't. I don't think they get the vote. But
I don't think they do.
No, I don't think. Or what was it? Didn't Putin just get elected for the 6th time? That's not rigged at all.
Definitely, that's completely free.
Oh my god, insane!
Elected with percentile.
Oh yeah, every single time he's getting elected, crazy.
Although it's funny, I have seen that because I love the pictures of him doing all this manly crap, and I was like, in America we have Chuck Norris, but in Russia they have Vladimir Putin. So they tell Putin jokes,
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin wakes bears up out of hibernation to borrow their dens or something. I don't know. Like the Vladimir Putin.
Oh man, yeah, that's crazy.
The world's a crazy place.
It really is. It is. It's even like even in the church right now, like I know we kind of talked. That was like our main conversation last time we talked. And I know when we talked recently, you kind of told me some things had changed at your church. And mine too. I think last time we talked, or last time you were on, it was funny. Last time you were on here, you were going to be my first video episode, actually. But for whatever reason, it ended up being audio only. I couldn't find the video file or whatever. But we talked about church stuff, and I was serving at a church, King's Church, over here in Lakewood, Ohio. It was a very liberal church, very modern church. And man, let me tell you, I left right at the perfect timing. It was
good.
It was getting worse. I know, like a lot of my grievances were about, it's a portable church. We've been renting the Civic Center in Lakewood they have been for, I want to say, like 7 years now. Right when I left, man, I left like September of last year. And last time I saw everyone was around the holidays because they had like a end of year appreciation dinner. I was like, I was there most of the year, man. I'm showing up to this dinner. So I went. Right. I went. I got my free meal and my free Target gift card that they gave to us all, whatever, $20 or whatever for serving for all these years, and I could just kind of tell from some of the leaders that hadn't seen me in a while, just their demeanor was kind of strange. I don't know. It was bizarre. And, I never really had a conversation with them. I just kind of said, hey, I was taking some time off, focusing on my other church that I've been serving at and helping out for the past couple of years. And that's where I'm going full time. It's called Cathedral of Life. Nice. More of an old school church. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get into all of that. I've learned a lot about this show, man. I've had pastors hang up on me because I'm talking shit about church or whatever. And I've had all the times, dude, I've had crazy stuff over the past year happen on this show.
That's funny.
It actually makes it better. I love it. I would love for you to hang up on me because I could talk about it. You know what I mean? Like it creates content. Son of a bitch. Oh, because what? I didn't obviously I talked crap about him right after. Now listen, I buried the hatch with the guy and everything. Everyone that listens to the show knows that. But just it's like the stuff that I saw happening. Like they just opened a second campus at King's Church. They're still renting a building, but they just opened a second campus. How does that? Why? Where's the sense in that? And I don't know if that I'm guessing that's another building they're renting. I don't know if they're bringing what type of revenue they're bringing in to I mean, they're nonprofit, it's a church, but it's like, I don't know, man. And every time I went to that dinner, I saw so many people I had never even seen before. I mean, the turnover rate of people serving is insane. So anyways, I never really got back to them. After that, a couple months later, I think I told you that they had I think we used WhatsApp or something like that. And I was still in the group. And one day I was like, I haven't seen anything posted come across my notifications. I open it and it's just gone. They just removed me. They never said, hey, we know you're serving. We appreciated your time here. You coming back? If not, we're going to take you off. We're going to go ahead and take you off. They just said, oh, we ain't seen him. Just take him off. You know what I mean? That was kind of shitty. At least have the balls to say, hey, we don't want people in this group that aren't regularly serving, something right. Like that. I kind of knew why they did it, but at least communicate something rather than just having they have the mentality of, because I met with our pastor one time and I was kind of telling him all the weird things I was saying and the weird in the worship team, and we kind of had he just kind of just shrugged his shoulders, right? And that's literally was his response. He just was like, I don't want anything to do with this. I just want someone to take care of it, and all the people he was putting in charge of it were the wrong people. And they were making matters worse. And I almost felt like I was just being annoying to him for even voicing my grievances towards it, because it was well, this is something, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. It was very strange. And now from the most recent sermon, every now and then I'll peek in on a sermon or whatever and kind of now it's almost dude, kind of going with the political status of the world. We got all this stuff going on in Gaza and Israel. You got some churches are supporting Israel. You got some Christians that don't support Israel, believe it or not. You got, well, that's them. You got Palestinian Christians who are upset that your church supports Israel, and you got Palestinian Christians that are upset at what Palestine's doing. So it's even in the church, it's so divided, and you can't even support, and there's things people post. I see people posting stuff oh, Jesus was actually Palestinian, and man, it's wild, dude. It's wild right now. What is going on, man? And I get it. I get that they're in an area like Lakewood. I know you're not familiar with Lakewood. I think I normally just say it's the second most predominantly homosexual city
Right.
in the U.S. It's like right next to San Francisco, California, which is crazy. So I don't know what the right response is. I know my church, where I'm going right now, Cathedral, they do support Israel big time. I mean, big time. I mean, every Sunday I hear about it. We have missions people that have been over there, that they're very vocal about it. And, and these are also people from, there's a family from Guyana, actually, that go to my church, and they're very supportive of it. So it's almost like you gotta tote the line, but you gotta do it right. Like you can't. I don't know. I don't want to say anything that sounds. I'm just gonna say it like this. You put a white guy up there, and it looks one way. If you have someone from another culture, or if they're black or whatever, it doesn't matter. But churches have learned that representation, it matters. I don't know if you saw that documentary on Hillsong. Did you see that by chance? It was on Hulu. It was basically, a lot of it was like the Carl Lentz stuff. What was going on with Carl Lentz, if you even know who he is. He was like a big past. I think he was in charge of Hillsong New York. And all this stuff with him, walking around shirtless, with Justin Bieber and taking shots in bars and stuff. And there was a whole thing on there on how like Hillsong was all white people. They're all Australian, but it's all just white faces, and there was no black representation or anything. So since then, since like the pandemic, pretty much since like 2020, there's been a shift in that in the modern day church. And even in my church, which is, I like to think more old school, and I've seen a huge, and it's good. It's good to have all walks of life. But what the church has kind of figured out is, let's try to use minorities to almost like cancel out any type of racist vibes or any type of, we're supporting Israel, but we're not all just saying that because we're all white people. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm doing? I was trying to talk that in circles. I know it was kind of sounding bad there for a second, but like, I'm not trying to sound negative or anything. It's good to have all walks of life and age groups and everything in a church. But if the church is trying to like almost like reinforce it, you know what I mean? And it gets muddled. It gets muddled, and I know that's not popular to say at all. It's not stuff you want to put out there, but it is. It was on that documentary. They talked about it on the documentary. They're like, "Listen, you don't represent us," and like, "Oh, we didn't even realize." It's just crazy, and it is kind of sad that we have to have that. We see that in movies and we see that in media today. It is kind of sad where we are right now. And I have black friends, man. They came on here. They agree with me. They totally agree with me. So it's.
Well, I feel like it's so weird because, growing up, I felt like we were raised in the '90s, right? And it felt like our society was really coming to a point where everybody's just kind of like, I was just a dude. Like, people's color really didn't seem to matter all that much. Right. And I grew up I was living in, of course, I was in my dad was in the military, so we saw people, every corner of America. Right. But then, even when I was living in Oklahoma, people can think whatever they want about Oklahoma, but we have a vibrant African American community, vibrant Native American community, whatever you want to call it. But everybody was just kind of like a dude, everybody's just kind of like somebody that you were. And it wasn't until kind of like the late 2000s and into the 2010s that all of a sudden everybody started talking about if you don't see color, then you're a racist. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's not how I was raised. I don't really care really how you identify. I care about your character. I care about your actions and the rest of it. And now we're back in this polarized where it's kind of like, if you say that you don't care what color they are, then you have unaccepted privilege, or whatever. It's like,
or you have, or I see a lot now is fighting segregation with more segregation. And I see that all the time where there was a painting class in the news that said like no white people allowed or something. Like I saw something like that. Like that's not the right response either. Like
no, and here in East Texas, churches where everybody's just black. They get together and they do their own thing. And it's not like anybody made them do that. It's just something that's just how it is.
Right.
We have probably, I'd say that a little bit less than 10% of the people. We had 1,900 people at our church on Easter Sunday. It's just wild because the county population is 6,000 and something.
Wow.
Foolishness. But we're pulling people from other counties, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we're averaging 1,200 on any given Sunday across 2 services. And I'd say we're probably like sitting there about 8% black people.
Yeah.
Come up. I mean, if we don't even really keep track of it, you can just kind of like look out in the crowd and see where that's at.
Sure.
And I mean, they're welcome, and they wear jeans and boots. They're in the cowboy church, and that's who they are. These people, ride horses. They work. One of the best cowboys in the county is a black guy, John Scott. This dude, I mean, he is the handiest, punchiest dude you ever met in your life.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. He's just Sean Scott. That's just Sean. You need somebody to come out and get that ridiculous bull out of your pasture. So there's that, but then we also have there's a Baptist church right on 79 as you're coming out of town, and you drive past there around 12:30, and you're going to see the big hats and the bright suits and the bright dresses, and it's the black church, and they dress the way they do, go to their church, and they sing their own music and everything else. They're welcome, and I'm sure we'd be welcome there. It's just that's how they choose to church.
Yeah.
It's not something that we even really think about around here. And I'm sure people think that we're just a bunch of backwards hillbillies out here in the woods. But it's, I would say, not even really a thing. On the church management deal, though, and it amuses me how sometimes it really seems like, to my observation, I have a very, I've been told that, people are like, well, you're not in the military anymore. It's like, obviously. But, like the military gives you that, like, very heavy on the meritocracy type, and then also like, let's put the best people in the best position to where they're going to be the most effective.
Right.
And I feel like churches, that's inverted. It's almost like, you were not the best communicator by far, but you're the head pastor. You've got an associate pastor, much better communicator, much better people person, much better counselor, but you're the head pastor.
Right.
And then, you're not, other people, you're not very good administratively. Not very good at disseminating information. You're not very organized. We're going to have you be the children's director, and then just have the people beneath you are the ones that are actually really good at like making all the cogs fit together.
Insane.
Less so because we have a new worship pastor. I said new. He came on October of last year.
Okay.
And he's got his own modern worship band. And they're called Dwell. Y'all can look them up. They put a single out a little after the beginning of the year called At Your Feet. It's actually, if you're into the modern worship thing, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's taken us in a much more modern direction than probably any cowboy church that there is out there. But you know what? It's not about personal preference at this point. It's about, are we glorifying God or not? And he's got a sensitivity to that is everything it ought to be. And honestly, he's making a lot of us better at things that we wouldn't have chosen for ourselves. Like, I'm the third guitar player. We have 1 acoustic and 2 electric guitars, and so I play a lot of the heavy rhythm, the chugging and the growling, and then the big open ambient chords, depending on whatever the song. And like, that's stuff that honestly I'm not playing myself without this.
Yeah,
but it's made me a better guitar player by far.
Sure.
And then after he came on and took on all the admin type stuff, that apparently was like really taking up like 20 hours of my week that I wasn't really cognizant of. I knew it was taking up time. I didn't know how much time was taking up. I've had time. I've started a whole other band. Got a whole other country covers band.
I see. You got it. Yeah, that's good.
And it is scratches my creative itch, which is great because at church now we're doing more like, okay, this is we play to a click. We don't use tracks.
Right. Right.
But we play to a click, and it's always pretty. It's 95% in line with whatever the original is, and that doesn't scratch my itch. It's not yummy to me. It's just it serves its purpose, but it's not musically what I want to do. Whereas on this other side, now I'm taking a 24-year-old female bass player / singer and a 62-year-old lead guitarist and a fellow vet drummer that he and I are the same age, and did take country songs and doing kind of what we want to do with them, which sometimes is pretty in line with how they are, and sometimes it's completely different.
Yeah.
And that has been so much fun, and I've got all the time, and we're gigging around, playing everything from the Orchard to the local social club, and we're having an absolute ball. But there's 0% chance I'd have enough time to do that. I was still doing all the church stuff, so now I just kind of show up with my guitar parts and do the things. I fill in for him whenever he's out. He'll be out for church camps over the summer, so I'm going to fill in and get to play acoustic and sing some again, which is fun for me.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's just he's really taking everybody and just kind of like, okay, I see what you have, I see what you do, but why don't we just try to tweak it a little bit and make you think about music in maybe a way that you wouldn't on your own.
Right.
And so I like, but like I said, I like Cole, and he's full time with us now. They want to move. They live in Stonewall, Louisiana. They want to move out here to Texas and raise kids out here. His wife just had their first kid. How old is he now? Their boy he might not even be 2 months old. He's brand new.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm like, I get it, man.
Yeah.
Raise kids in Louisiana either. That's 2 thumbs down for me.
So how far of a drive is that?
He's driving about an hour.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like our county is on the state line. So I live.
That's right. That's right.
I live 7 miles from the state line. And then he's a little bit, he's kind of almost east of my house as the crow flies, but there's not a direct road. So he's got to go south and then come across to get to Carthage.
Got you.
But he's not complaining about it. They're just trying to figure out how they're going to buy a house. I don't envy anybody trying to buy a house.
Oh man.
Good Lord.
Man, I was just saying, I had a guest on the other day. We're like, man, we can't sell our houses because the interest rate, like I had bought my house right before the pandemic. The market was good. The interest rate was great. It still is pretty good. I can't get rid of it. I could sell it and make a profit, but I'm not gonna get anything better than this, man. I mean, I'm pretty blessed.
No, if you sell what you have, you won't be able to replace it.
No way.
It's not there.
No way.
And I've got friends that do everything from mortgage brokering to full up, realtor. They'll be like, oh, it fell, 1/4 of a basis point interest rate today, and it's like, yeah, that's like our bass player. She and her husband, they haven't even been married for a year yet. They're just starting out. She's a school teacher, and he works in like industrial plumbing, and that's not a great way to describe what it is that he does. But they're living in a trailer house on his dad's place because they're like, yeah, we're not buying a house. 0% chance we're buying a house, and they don't even have college debt. Anybody that's coming out of town out of college with bills, you may as well live in a van by the river.
Right.
I feel bad because I got lots of friends
that
are in their early mid-20s, and they're like, man, we want to buy a house. I'm like,
good luck.
Yeah.
Wait for when's the next Olympics? I don't know. Wait for another pandemic or something. I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's what I'm saying. Whenever that happens. Yeah.
And like I'm in the same place. I bought this house in 2020 at a very comfortable interest rate. We tried to refinance during 2020, like during COVID, when everything was just in the basement.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Like the bank just wasn't being very helpful, and nothing ever really came of it. But compared to today's interest rates, I am making money, and I could sell it I could probably sell it for twice what I paid for it, and I would be homeless because you couldn't live anywhere. Where are you going to go?
Right.
You're going to buy with it,
Yeah, it's so true. So true, man. Yeah, I want to say my rent in Lakewood is almost the same as my mortgage. I mean, my utilities are way higher here, but it's almost the same for a whole house as opposed to a 500 square unit efficiency that I was living in. Yeah, Lakewood's a lot like New York. It's like a bunch of apartments all toppled on top of each other and everything. And hardly anyone drives because you got a lot of college students there. So some places don't even have a parking place. You walk everywhere. There's nowhere to park. It's insane. Yeah, it's way overrated. I got kind of sick of it.
that is the polar opposite of here.
Really?
My wife and I both got hit in Louisiana in our vehicles. Mine was fine, but it totaled her Highlander. This spring. A girl wasn't paying attention, ran a red light, just T-boned her.
Oh, man.
And so it's time to buy a new car, and she's got several coworkers that live in Shreveport, Bossier that commute 7 miles a day, that kind of stuff, and they're all about the Tesla.
Yeah.
They're driving her around and showing her all that. And like, don't get me wrong, Teslas are cool. And like, I think everything Elon Musk does is awesome.
Yeah.
We got Starlink out here, and it's the best internet you can find. I don't care. It is so good.
That's awesome.
And so,
is that what you're using right now? Starlink? I spoke too soon. That was the greatest comedic timing ever on this show. You using Elon Musk's? The end. Hey.
Yeah, I know. So somebody heard.
Did you
lost you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
It was just so funny right when I asked.
Hilarious timing.
It was great timing. No, is that what you're using, or are you using I don't even know what that is.
Starlink is satellite internet. They've got their own constellation satellites.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Compared to anything else you can get out here, everything else may as well be dial-up when it works. And half
Right.
the time it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So anyway, notwithstanding that little glitch right there, I'm going to blame your internet connection for that one, actually.
Oh, you're good, man. Last time you was disconnecting like crazy. It's been good so far. So, yeah, thank you, Elon Musk.
But anyway, she wanted to get the Tesla, and I'm like, honey, and like we've got to like buy infrastructure to be able to charge it at home. There is one supercharger in Carthage, entertainingly, but there's just one. And she was set on it. And like everything I said, just like talking to a stump. I was just like, I was kind of frustrated.
Yeah.
And then she was about to pull the trigger on buying it. We lost power at the house for a day and a half. It's like, maybe I don't want to do this. And like, we have a generator that will run our lights and air conditioner and stuff like that, so we don't die. But it's not gonna like. I was like, so we're gonna turn the air conditioner off
so you can
start your car
to drive.
She's like, no, never mind. So she wound up getting a new hybrid Highlander that God really helped us out. Like, when you need a vehicle, God will get you one. It's a trim package nicer than what she had before. It's a hybrid. It's got room for all the car seats and everything. It's like the perfect mom car. She's rocking like 34, 35 miles to the gallon, but we could still carry,
that's awesome.
All of our kids and crap. So, it was a great learning curve. It was just funny because she's like, Tesla. And God's like, let me unplug your power for a day. And just like, let's not, like, speaking of like letting people like fail in a safe place. It was just like, no, we're not doing that.
It's funny. My co-host, his brother worked for Tesla, and he worked there for I think maybe a year, and he just was the victim of their most recent round of layoffs, and he got laid off. And I want to have him on here and have him talk about it, but he was in town. I guess he was at they had a factory in Columbus or something. And he was in town, but it had just happened. I'm like, it's a little too soon. Maybe next time. But, that's a rough... I mean, he thought he was going to be a lifer. And I just saw like an image of... I think that is due to the poor sales in the Cybertruck that just came out. There's like a whole recall on those trucks where the gas pedal will go up and get stuck. And you have to basically... kind of do the 2-foot brake gas and then put it in park, and then you can get out and pull it back into place. So I just saw like an image of like a whole parking lot full of these Cybertrucks just going to the scrapyard because of this failure. That's not good. You don't want to get stuck in going and you can't stop. You can stop by hitting the brake, but yeah, that's a big fail. I don't know about the Cybertruck. I've heard bad things.
I knew a girl in college that, she had some '90s Mustang, and her accelerator cable was.
Yeah, that was a thing.
She was driving fast, like 85 miles an hour
Mm-hmm.
in this automatic transmission Mustang, and the cable got stuck, and so in order to stop, she jammed it into reverse
Mm.
and totaled that car.
Oh man.
So, just telling the internet right now that is not advice on how to stop a stuck accelerator. Just put it in neutral. Let that sucker, use your brakes, let it coast down a little bit.
Right.
But more than that, like I've heard, like everybody I know that has a Tesla absolutely loves it. I'm sure the Cybertruck thing, they'll figure that out. But more than that, like, man, I feel like these days you just can't stay out of politics. So I apologize. You can turn me off if you don't like it. It was a small story in the news last week, a couple weeks ago, that there were new tariffs on Chinese imports, which of course was a big thing that our sitting president was like, you can't put tariffs on China. When he was a president, now that he is, it's 100% tariff on EV imports out of China because they're flooding the American market with 4-seat sedan electric vehicles that cost $12,000 to buy brand spanking new off the lot. Now, how well they work, I don't know. But if you're driving an EV, you're not driving very far. If you've got enough room for 4 people, you could be in the HOV lane or whatever. And so it's this artificial flooding of the market because Teslas, you're not getting a Tesla for $12,000.
No.
0% chance.
No.
Now, form and function on a Tesla are probably so much better. But China is just, and the way that now they're getting around the tariffs by they're shipping these vehicles to Mexico, selling them to another company in Mexico, and then the Mexican company is selling them to the States so they can avoid the tariffs because that's how the free market works. It avoids taxes when you can.
Yeah.
But the American EV market is being kind of crippled because China they can basically print cars at a fraction of the price. And obviously Elon is not selling Tesla, model M55,000 billion, whatever they are. I don't know. I'm not a Tesla guy, but the new nice ones are $75,000. I don't know how much a Cybertruck is. I feel like the Cybertruck is one of those things. Like they asked if they could without asking if they should. Nobody that drives a pickup truck is like, I want this. You're not hauling a horse trailer with it.
Right.
You're not going through the pasture with this thing. I think we're going to find out with some of these inexpensive electric vehicles going down the road. Once those lithium batteries catch fire, you can't put them out. You've got to let them burn out. And Lord knows there cannot be very many safety. Like there's no legal entity in charge of vehicle safety when the vehicles are built in China. They don't care. I mean, they're probably like, oh yeah, I hope this catches on fire at 5,000 miles and burns up 4 Americans. Like honestly, that's probably what the Chinese Communist Party thinks. So I don't know. It's time, man, and everything, whether it's economics or politics or religion/church stuff, it's like everything is the opposite of how it should be ideally. And I know a lot of people, some days myself included, just kind of like, what are we gonna do? I don't see a way to fix any of this. It's just a big, it's. Yeah. Like when you have just an unsalvageable knot snarled in your fishing line and you're trying to put it back in the reel and finally, you're just like, man, just cut it off and throw it away. Like, just what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And not that I'm saying we need to do that as a society. But, on the one hand, you've got some people talking about how the iPhone is going to steal your face so that the government can do deepfakes of you. And then on the other hand, we've got people that are out there protesting because they love the genocide of Jews and they want to murder children at full term when they the child is born, you have a 72-hour period to abort after that. It's like, this is crazy talk. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, what kind of, can we not find just like normal people in the middle? It's like, I think rape and murder is bad. I like children. I think we should protect them. I don't like taxes and I want to be left alone. And that's, to some people, they're like, that's radical.
It
sounds like the place where you live is probably radical. So your listeners in Lakewood are probably just like they've turned
this off already.
Yeah, they're like, that dude from Texas, everything we thought that he was. Just oh man,
yeah, you don't mess with it.
His white male privilege, toxic masculinity,
right? It is wild, man. It is. You gotta. I've kind of learned to just you pick my battles. let things roll off that are said. Sometimes, it's and kind of going back to the church thing. It can be tough when your whole church is supporting something that you don't support. And so I'm
and some of those things, like if some people are like, oh, I think we should tax this, we can agree to disagree on that. When they're like, oh, well, the Palestinians that came in and raped and murdered everybody really had a point.
Right.
That's one of those where you're just kind of like, all right, man, look, I'm just gonna be out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, choose your battles.
Yeah.
And then I'm also always like, let's sit down and have a conversation. Because there's an old saying that says, if you're young and a liberal, if you're young and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. And if you're old and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain. And I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Some people are, like they're governed by one or the other. But if we can't sit down and have a conversation and say, this is my position and this is why, and then the other person say, this is my position and this is why, at the least you can come to have some empathy. Be like, I see where you're coming from.
Right.
You have to agree about it, but then it also can't be crazy talk.
Yeah.
People that are like, oh, I put camo netting over where I store all my World War II surplus so the government doesn't come and take it. Like, all right, look.
Yeah, the internet's great for that. The internet, one of my favorite things about the internet, you go on the comment section, at least, especially on Instagram. I think it says this on Instagram. It goes, welcome to the conversation. Please be courteous or whatever. First of all, this is not a conversation. I hate to break it to you. Mm-hmm. This is a comment. We live in comments over conversation. I say that all the time on here. We live in a time where we want to leave our comment. We don't want to actually have a back and forth dialogue. We just want to try and change someone's mind, which has never happened on social media ever. So,
or you just want it like that, the whole like, oh, you owned them or whatever,
right?
The clapbacks and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you got a certain amount of likes and this person didn't. Someone's gonna literally say that in the comments. Oh, you only got one like. Really? Who cares? Like, dude, it doesn't matter. And kind of going with your saying with the whole, someone being younger, you got to have this mentality, and older. I feel like a lot of my friends. Most of my friends are liberals. I kind of towed the line because look, I got a lot of health issues. So there are things the Democratic Party does favor for me as someone who's had a kidney transplant, as someone who's had all types of health issues. So I kind of have to, it could be difficult for me, but I can't buy the whole narrative. And I think that goes with a lot of people. I know a lot of my friends who are liberal, and they're like, I don't get the whole gender thing. Like, I'm with you on this, but not that. And they want to try and sell it all on one thing. And if you're not with that thing, then you're part of the problem. You're not actually part of us. So, yeah, I think a lot of my friends that grew up liberal or raised in liberal households, they feel like the older they get, the more conservative they become. Mm-hmm. And me, I feel the opposite because I was raised conservative. The older I get, the more liberal I feel. It's weird. Mm-hmm. It's weird how you kind of meet in this middle road of everything. Because, you get older, you get wise to like the bullshit, It's like both sides are full of shit. So, it's crazy, man. It is. And you're right. Go ahead.
And traditional conservatives are starting to open up to like the whole, like, it really is, to a large extent, we are governed by one party, not two.
Yeah.
And see, virtually everybody that goes to Washington, D.C., whatever they say, they go up there and they do something different. They go up there and they enter whatever federal office pool.
Yeah.
They come out filthy rich. And they're all on the same team. Now, there's, some people will say this thing to get elected here, and some people say this thing to get elected here. But I think people our age, especially, and younger, surprisingly, are starting to see, like, you guys all lie.
Yeah.
And now our lives are
right.
You all lie and suck. Now, obviously, then you've got to sort through, like, okay, well, who do you vote for that's not going to go up there and do that? And that's, that conversation is so tailored to the individual and where they live that it's not worth having here.
Right.
But people are starting to see that, like, we have way more in common than the things that supposedly divide us. And there are there's like the 10% on both poles out here that are just completely nuts. These people over here that want Jewish genocide and murder babies and blah blah, and these people over here that are like, oh, we should put gays in jail and all that.
Right.
Come on, man. Like, no, like, stop. Neither one of those. Like,
Right.
I don't know if more people our age are starting to realize that they're more libertarian. They're like, I just really want to be left alone.
Yeah.
You do you. You want to go do shrooms, smoke weed, or whatever? Like, that's fine. You want to go over here and not drink? That's also fine.
Right.
Just don't tell me.
Right.
Just let me go. Like if I want to raise my kids on horses and homeschool them, and basically be a guitar playing hippie, then leave me alone.
Yeah.
Why does it bother you? Don't come in here and be like, you have to stay and do and believe everything exactly the way that I do.
Right.
That's where they're losing the conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think most American people are like, man, I just want to live life and be left to live my life.
Yeah, I
really think that's the key.
I think
if we can just figure out a way to find the right people to go to government and just don't do anything. Pass a budget, be a businessman, pass a budget, pay for roads and defense and, and then just don't. Just leave us alone.
Yeah.
Don't get the government out of healthcare,
Yeah. I think
don't have a politician telling teachers how to teach.
Yeah.
Common Core math. Don't have a politician telling a doctor how to triage, how to practice medicine. Don't have politicians telling military people how to do military stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to Washington and shut up.
Yeah.
Just go up there and pass a budget and shut up. That's what we want from you.
Right.
And then just let the rest of Americans just live their life the way they want to. And in some places it's going to look more liberal, in some places it's going to look more conservative. And I think that's honestly healthy too. You're starting to see these places where, red's getting redder and blue's getting bluer. But then you really can't complain. Then it's really like, okay, whatever policies you voted for are what you get. And you're surrounded by people who are going to be like-minded about the stuff that are really, real finger stick issues for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see, the negativity in it. Somebody like me is never going to live in California. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
I pay enough in taxes, quite frankly.
Right.
And the weather's beautiful there, but that,
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, somebody who works in, they're in, some sort of like flamboyantly homosexual entertainment industry or whatever. There's not a lot for them.
Right.
In fact, there's not a lot of entertainment industry in East Texas, period. So that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying you're not welcome here. Just saying like you're not going to have a very good time.
Right.
It's not very nice, and everybody's pretty straight. And when I say that, I mean they're awkwardly straight sometimes.
That's so funny. Kind of going back to you saying, like people losing on the conversation. My I got a family member. I'll say it like that. I got a family member. I'm sure they don't listen, but sometimes they don't know what to say. Like you're losing the conversation because you don't actually have anything thought out. You're just kind of saying how you feel, and the way you feel maybe not be right. And like so I had a family member. They're talking about a friend of mine who she's a lesbian. And she also works for an automotive place. I'm trying to leave names and stuff out. So, my family member was like, she says she's a Christian, but she says she's a Christian. Like, okay. But she has a kid, and she was like, she'll ask for prayer for her kid, but yeah, she's a lesbian. So because someone's a lesbian or a gay or whatever, they can't ask for prayer? I don't understand what you're saying right now. And I kind of just, whatever, nod in my head. And I'm like, I don't think that they had, they have what their own convictions are, and they're trying to translate that. But I think that she just, or my family member, just doesn't know how to I don't know. I just find that so bizarre. You're going to say someone can't ask for prayer who's gay? I don't get that. I don't understand. I get the root of it. Mm-hmm. If you're saying, you're living in sin, you're living in habitual sin, so God may not hear your prayer. There is a scripture that gets often miscommunicated. I can't remember where it is. I want to say it's in Mark. I'm probably way wrong, but it basically, I'm terrible with scripture, man. That's my ADD. I can recall things, but I can't tell you where it's found. So it was like,
I can quote all kinds of stuff, and they're like, maybe, what is that in? I'm like, the New Testament.
Oh, I'm way out. I'm out. Yeah. But it's something about, losing your religion, or God doesn't hear the prayers of the unrighteous. I don't know where that's found.
It might honestly be I don't know if it's in Proverbs, but that might be one of the prophets too.
Okay.
Talking about how Israel's back on God, and God doesn't hear your prayers because you've turned your back on him.
Yeah, and I get that, but when people hear that, and I get, you can't, the word of God is offensive. It offends because it's true. People are offended by the truth. So when you say that, you almost got to communicate it to a generation that wants to be heard. A generation like me who's doing a freaking podcast for like hardly anybody. When you hear, God doesn't hear your prayers, I don't think that's not actually true. He does hear them. May not answer them, but I can see where that's triggering for someone to hear.
It's different. We were talking about this last night. We had a little gathering and played music, campfire, chill, all that kind of real Texas-y stuff. But we were talking about, so I've got a friend, whatever, he goes to our church, and he says a lot of dumb stuff with really, really big words. And you're just like, dude, that didn't need to be said. But occasionally he lays like the golden egg. And one of the things that he said, he's like, you cannot get upset with lost people doing lost things. So there's a twofold conversation, right? You have people that are lost and people that are saved. When I say saved, I mean like Holy Spirit dwells within you and changes your life saved. And if you don't have the Holy Spirit in you, then you can pray, and I think God does hear you. However, you're not praying the same way that a saved person does. Right. Conversely, if there's a lost person who does not have the Holy Spirit in them, you're doing the wrong thing. Why are you surprised? Like, that's what you do when you're lost. It's when you're saved that the new standard, right? Because the Holy Spirit is going to convict you and tell you, like, that's not the way to live anymore. And you're not going to want, when you're saved, you have a rejection of sin and a turn towards the way that God wants you to live. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's all self-sacrificial once you become saved.
Yeah.
And there must be a relationship. I try to tell people, like the fire and brimstone people that stand out on a corner and be like, you're going to hell. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's effective. You have to have some modicum of a relationship. I still shoot horses for a living. It's not going well. When I say not going well, I love my customers. There's not a lot of money in it, but it gives me the opportunity, and I talk to all kinds of people. And when I'm working on their horses, they will tell me all kinds of stuff. But and sooner or later, they're going to get the gospel. If they don't have a relationship with you, they're going to get the gospel. But it's only after we've established a relationship, they know a little bit about who I am. I know probably way more about them than I really planned on.
And you said shoeing, not shooting. It sounded like you said shooting there, but then I remember
horses.
I recalled our last conversation. That's what you do. So I just want anyone listening to be
farrier,
clear.
not an equine executioner.
I'm like, man, that's some cold-hearted shit.
No, I am a equine podiatrist.
That's awesome. That's got to be hard. I see videos of that kind of stuff coming out on my feed, like on Instagram.
Apparently, people love. It's very satisfying to do, and it's equally satisfying to watch.
It is.
Anyway,
yeah. Go ahead.
Back to the whole. I'm just going to finish this thought. When you have a relationship with somebody that's lost, and then they start to ask about, like, well, tell me about this, tell me about that. Then you can start talking about, man, I used to live this way, and now I live differently because Jesus made this difference in my life. That's the one thing, but you can't really go to a lost person and be like, you suck because you're doing the bad thing. I mean, you can, but it has to come from a place of, like, they know that you care more about them than you do about yourself. The flip side of that is when you have Christian to Christian and somebody who's, even just a professing Christian, right? You profess, I can't know what's in your spirit, but you profess to be a Christian. I have certain things that are like, okay, then you believe what the Bible says. The Bible says this, 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 and this. And this even came up Monday, so it was late last week. With a friend that was over at the house, and we started talking to talking through some stuff, and she's had kind of a rough road. But it came out that she and her boyfriend are sleeping together. They're not married, and she wants to get married, and he's real nervous about just kind of a bad deal. And it just, I mean, I didn't even really play it. It sort of came out. I was like, "You doing what? You know better than that."
Yeah.
Kind of like, and she could tell. You could see it in her face. She's kind of like,
yeah,
man, he's right. I was like, then I made the point. I was like, if you want to get married to him, then quit that.
Yeah.
He's getting all the benefits of being married and then had no other responsibilities.
Right.
Why won't we just do the right thing, and then maybe it'll have the desired effect? And it was less uncomfortable than it probably would have been for some other people, because I'm a prophet. It's my spiritual gift. And I tell people, like, prophets don't tell the future. They just have an absolutely unseverable love affair with the truth. Prophets going to tell you what the truth is. They know it's imprinted on our souls. So, like, when it came down to it, it was pretty simple. Like, that's wrong, and you're hurting yourself by doing it. And you're hurting your relationship with God by doing it. So, yeah, if this girl's a lesbian, and she's obviously, like, she's not concealing it, it's just the way that she lives, then, yeah, I'd say lost people doing lost people stuff. Am I going to be like, no, I'm not going to pray for you because you're dirty, rotten? No.
Right.
Man, like,
right.
come on. Like, we're all sinners. We've all fallen short.
Right.
Now, she's going to be where I draw the line. That trigger warning for all of you listening. Somebody comes like, you're going to affirm what I do, even though it's against the Bible. Like, no, that's not my obligation.
That's a new internet word. I hear that. I see that all affirmation. It's like
I don't have to affirm anything, and I don't need you to affirm the way that I live my life.
Right.
And I live my life before God as a responsibility to Him as a believer and a husband and a father, in that order. Like, and I don't need you to affirm that. There's lots of, our society doesn't affirm that.
Right.
I'm a white, heteronormative, cisgender, whatever. Like, I'm learning all the terms that apply to me. I'm basically a guy who's married to a woman and raising children according to the Bible. And there's lots of people that aren't going to affirm that. And I don't expect them. You don't have to. I'm not obligated to them. Nor are they're not obligated to do that. I'm not either. And so it's one of those things like, I'll love you. I'm not going to be, what do they call them? A pride ally. Sorry, I'm not. Come to me and be like, am I living life right? I'm going to tell you, no, man, I don't think you are.
Yeah.
I think life's better over here, and these are the reasons why. But I'm also going to be like, will you please pray? Like, my child's having a medical operation. I can't find a job or whatever it is. Like, yeah, dude, that's what we're called to do. To lift one another up before the throne. And the Bible says that the Holy Spirit will hear even the things that we don't know how to say right and interpret them to the Father.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea, like, whoever it is, you said they probably don't listen. So if there's anybody out there that's like withholding prayer because you think that somebody is beneath you on the spectrum of sin, you need to get the fuck over yourself. Pardon my French. Like, we're all sinners. We have all fallen short of the glory. I have too, and I have to repent of it every day. I'm not better than anybody. I just have the answers in the book. And if you want the answers, I can tell you what the book says. Not what I say.
Yeah.
Live according to the Spirit's promptings, and then help everybody else up along the way.
Right. And that's the problem, going back to the church, is a lot of the today you get the cliche, I know it sounds cliche to say, but watered down gospel or whatever, feel good message on Sunday, and it's not actual teaching about hell or
right. Our pastor made that point yesterday. It's like, we don't talk about hell very much. It's uncomfortable.
Not anymore.
If you go and look through it statistically, Jesus talked way more about hell
than
he did about heaven.
That's true.
When he talked heaven, he spoke only to the disciples, the people that were there, the people that were bought in,
Mm-hmm.
His sermons to, like, the masses was way more about, like, hey, this is the penalty for sin.
Yeah.
And it is. And, like, I wouldn't even say that I like to talk about hell, but at the same time, somebody's like, hey, man, am I going to heaven? Who's more important, you or Jesus?
Yeah.
Does Jesus own your life, or do you own your life? And if the answer is you own your life, then you're going to hell. That's the way it is. You ask Jesus to be your Savior, and then you submit to Him being Lord of your life. We don't talk enough about the Lordship. We talk plenty about the Savior, and Jesus loves you, but then Paul writes, you're bought with a price. We talk about the precious blood, like the blood of Jesus is what bought you. And He bought you back from sin and the grave and hell. And then you have an obligation. You don't even have to say it. When you say it like that, like you have an obligation, it sounds like you're being coerced into something. But when you have the Holy Spirit in you, it's a desire to serve the one who saved you. It's not a because I have to. It's a because I get to.
Yeah.
Save me when I didn't deserve it, and now I get to be part of the kingdom.
Right. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah. That's.
You know, I would love to I would love to come in, as a guest in like a church in a completely different place, like where you're at. Like, I don't know if they'd stone me or if they'd be like, wow, never thought about it that way before. Or a combination of the two. You'd have somebody want to cut my head off and somebody else being like, ah, man, that's got a point.
Right. There's a lot. There's a lot of churches out there, though. There's a lot of different doctrines. There's a lot of different, beliefs. There's, I mean, it's wild. Here, man. It's crazy. It's we have churches for homosexuals. I mean, I want to say it's the Methodist Church that's really accommodating to that. I could
very much so.
Yeah,
and it's hit even here in Texas because there's like the United Methodist, and then there's a bunch of people branching off from United Methodist because they're doing that. There's they're being accommodating to that. They have female pastors.
Yeah,
I don't have a strong opinion on that one way or the other.
Yeah,
but the midwife, the certified nurse midwife that delivered both my children, her husband is a United Methodist pastor, preacher, whatever you want to call him. I think they have a title. I forget what it is. And he had to move like a significant way because the church that he was pastoring voted to leave the United Methodist Church over the changes in theology. And the United Methodist Church places each of those pastors wherever they're going to be, and they move them. And so when that church was like, hey, we're not part of UMC anymore, they were like, okay, well, now the United Methodist organization had to move him. They moved him like 200 miles or something.
Wow.
Well, they moved him from a little tiny town called Beckville. There's nothing there. There's a mine. There's a coal mine there. Down to, I forget the name of the town, but it's on Toledo Bend, which is a huge reservoir on the Sabine River on a really nice lake. So he got an upgrade. It's just another 150 miles farther away from where his wife practices medicine. So.
Wow.
You win some, you lose some. But yeah, no, the Methodists, they had lots of big controversy over that. And like even here, of all places, like altars. Wow. And that's one of those things, like I've met the man once. He seemed like a nice guy. He wants to keep being a pastor for the United Methodist Church. And, and then espouse that. I'm not going to be like, well, then we can't be friends.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you guys should you guys should bring in a gay guy and have him be the pastor of your church. I'll be like, I don't think we're going to do that. But we could still be members of the community. Your wife delivered both my children, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
There's no reason, there's no need to have that be a relationship ending. I'm just not going to tell you that I think you're right about everything. And I don't need you to do that. If you're like, well, I think you're wrong to exclude, you are allowed to think that, and I do not think less of you as a person or believing that. I'm just choosing not to do it myself.
A lot of churches, what they do, instead of actually having a conversation with you, kind of going back to my old church, they'll look at your social media posts and they'll look at what you represent or what they think you represent or whatever, and then they'll go, they'll act accordingly off of that. They'll go, oh, well, this person posted this. We don't want that to reflect our church, so we'll just, we'll let them serve in whatever capacity, but we just won't, associate with them.
I've got as parallel to that. So we started this little country band back in January. We'd kind of been playing together. We finally figured out who was going to be our guitar player's son, was going to be our bass player, but he's a rock and roller. He's not a country guy, and he's got 6 kids. He owns his own business. He was just like, dudes, I don't have time for this, which is, it actually turned out to be great. I love playing with. He plays with us at church, but he's like, I don't have time for this, and it turned out to be great because that's when we got Gabby on board. And having a female in the band is just brings a whole new energy. She gets to sing some of the stuff that I'm not going to say is a whole different thing. And
it's marketable too. It just is.
Yeah. So we did one practice at the church in the youth center, and we recorded a couple of the songs that we did, more so that we kind of get a feel for where we were production wise and what we need to tighten up. You know how it is. You listen to playback and practice, you know how to fix it.
Right.
And one of those wound up on Facebook.
Oh, no.
Our drummer took a clip of that and he put it on all his socials. He put it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. That old people don't have anything but Facebook. So anyway, I'm there on a Wednesday, just minding my own. And I'm on my way out. I got my son in the stroller and my daughter with me. My wife's having a women's team meeting. And all of a sudden, all three elders, here they are. They're like, hey, man, can we talk to you for a minute? I was like, boy, three elders roll up on you. You're probably in trouble. They're like, no. We go back to the pastor's office. Like, hey, y'all playing country music in the youth center? I was like, yeah, we had a practice there. It's like, to be honest with you, I didn't ask anybody. I just, the youth pastors let us borrow the separate standalone PA that they have. And we just needed a place. It was raining. And, they're like, well, there's this video on Facebook. And I was like, yeah, I think we're doing Dwight Yoakam. Dwight Yoakam, Fast as You was the song we were doing. So nothing that I would consider controversial, but whatever. And they're like, this is obviously, there's this big painting, quote unquote, that sits behind the stage on the youth center. And so it's very distinctive. Anybody in 5 counties knows what that's at.
Yeah.
They're like, man, we can't be doing that. We can't have you playing country music in the church and then putting it on Facebook because that's not what we do here. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I didn't ask to use your facility. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was like, I apologize. We'll do it again. It wasn't supposed to be posted anywhere. That was for our benefit. Thomas just got excited. And they were on the way out. It's like, yeah, man. And then besides, like, what are you guys doing? I was like, well, right now we're just playing country covers together and just kind of having fun. And they're like, well, it says Honky Tonk Band on there. I was like, yeah. Yeah, they're like, well, are you guys going to play honky tonks? I was like, I don't know. We'll see. Right now, the offers right now we've tried to play at a barbecue place and the fruit orchard. Like, oh man,
is that bar? You got to translate for me up north.
Oh, honky tonk.
I don't know what that is.
So I would say that whenever it depends on who you're talking to. Now, one of our elders is a recovering alcoholic. He's been sober for 20-something years, but he was bad, and he and I kind of commiserated over that because there was a time about 7 years ago where I was two handles of whiskey a week, one for the week and one for the weekend. I was bad. And so and I could, again, having that empathy, I could communicate with him on that level. Yeah. And he's kind of, so a honky tonk is essentially a place where you play live music. They have a dance hall. They usually sell beer and sometimes a full bar. There's like pool tables, darts, big dance floor, and it all revolves around music. It's kind of a lost thing in a lot of Texas and Oklahoma. It used to be like think of 90s country and kind of the culture that they were kind of talking about in 90s country. That's pretty much what we talk, Clint Black and Alan Jackson and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff and that's what we do. There's not a lot of them left. But those that are actually a lot of fun, Or like you watch Roadhouse or Urban Cowboy and see kind of that setting. That's kind of what I think of. But it also has kind of like that is what I would call a honky tonk sound. White Yoakam, Clint Black, some of the George Strait, a little more hard-edged.
Yeah, it's more of a genre these days, I think.
More of a genre of music, yeah. And so they're like, what do you mean by honky tonk band? I was like, it's kind of reflective of how we sound, The elder that is the recovering alcoholic was like, well, man, if you guys are going to be out playing at the bars on Saturday night and then try to come in here and play in church on Sunday morning, that's a bad look. That's not the look that we're going for. I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I went home, and the more I sat with that, it just really ground my gears. I was like, dude, man, you don't pay me enough to tell me
right.
what to do.
Right.
And I went.
And it's not like you had someone from someone not from the church, right? These are all people that also play.
All 4 of us are on the worship team.
So,
but they talk to me because I am the lead singer.
Sure.
I sing 75% of the time. Gabby sings 20% of the time, and then our guitar player will sing 1 or 2. But anyway, I'm kind of I tell everybody this is not the Mike Butler band. We are the Texians, and we can't. We've tried playing without one of the 4 pieces. It's like driving with a flat tire. It doesn't work.
Right.
But anyway, I went back and I talked to everybody. I was like, hey guys, talked about playing this place and this place and this place. And they basically came out and gave us kind of an ultimatum, we go play these places, and they're going to kick us out. And they had not talked with the new worship pastor about this at all either. He was in an emo punk rock band for a while, played bass. He was a touring musician once upon a time. And so I was kind of and I asked everybody, hey, how do you feel about this? And I was kind of talking to everybody. I was like, man, what do you guys think about this? We did some we were looking at scripture, is there anything in the scripture that says, dictates, don't let any unedifying communication come out of your mouth. It's like, man, Gabby's singing Cowboy Take Me Away. and I'm singing, Big City, Turn Me Loose and Set Me Free. I don't see, like, we're not singing about, we don't sing cheating songs.
Right.
We don't sing songs about, we don't sing any drug songs because our guitar player is sober from drugs for like 15 years now. So anyway, we got together. We're basically like, hey, they can kick rocks. We're going to keep doing this. And if they want to fire half the worship team, then that's Cole's problem, essentially.
Right.
I went to talk to Cole about it. I was like, hey, this is what we said. This is what we're doing. This is kind of the deal. We had conversations about it. He's like, I don't know. We'll see. And so there is a place that's the closest thing to a honky tonk in Carthage. It's not. It's called the Texas Country Social Club Bar and Grill, which is way too many words, and they need a rebrand bad. But they have a full kitchen. They are a bar. You can't smoke in there. They got pool tables. They got a dance floor. They got a little stage, and sometimes they have karaoke. Sometimes they have live music. And we played there once. We're playing there again this Saturday. And we went out there, played. We promoted it on Facebook. I made a commercial, such as it was a sponsored ad on Facebook, whatever. And, no punches, no bones about it. It's like, this is what we're doing. Come on out. It's steak night, have dinner, dance, drinks, whatever. Mm-hmm. We went out and had an absolute ball. And the next morning, we all played on Sunday. And I went and met each of the elders. And, I didn't, bring it up. I just walked up to them, looked in the eye, shook their hands, asked them how they were doing. How's everything going? Ample opportunity for it to come with a conversation. And I think nobody cared. I told Cole, I was like, I think we have catastrophic success here. But he was kind of like, well, what are you guys going to do if they tell you, hey, if you do it again, then you're off the worship team? I was like, this pays better, and I've got bills. And Cole was like, yeah, man, that doesn't. So it was a non-issue. But again, it goes back to that whole, and I think they probably had a conversation about it behind the curtain that I wasn't privy to. It does come down so many, and it's once a church gets past a certain size, I feel like there's that constant conversation about, well, how, what are the appearances? How does this look? What message does this send? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
If I wanted to play politics, I'd run for office. It pays better. Sure.
Yeah.
I did have a guy walk up to me and ask me, how come we didn't play any of the country stuff in church anymore? I was like, man, it's new worship pastor. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, well, and he basically said, we all know that, the band is getting paid. And I was like, what? Yeah. It's like, that's why we do all this modern stuff. They brought in paid musicians. And I was like, ain't none of us getting paid, old son. He's like, really? So you guys just volunteer, huh? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh.
It's amazing. You can get people, man, I got a guy that comes on here and volunteers to do my cameras when I'm not here. He comes from nice. 30 miles away. I can see how churches get people to volunteer. You get someone to do something that they're interested in. I pay him in beer when he comes over here, whatever, but that's it. I'm like, dude, I cannot pay you. I cannot, I have yet to make a dime off of this podcast yet. So sorry, but I can see how churches get volunteers and kind of going with that whole thing. It's so funny. The differences, here, the church I was at, we used to close the service with a radio song. So the pastor would preach and we would do a song that kind of went maybe Radioactive by Imagine Dragons or maybe something, but stripped down. I remember I had to sing Iris by Goo Goo Dolls in church after the message, and I had to literally sing the line, I give up forever to touch you, in church in front of the congregation. That's how the song starts.
So back in the day, the Cowboy Church too, they had a completely different band. They had fiddle player, had a steel guitar, all that kind of stuff. And they would people would be showing up, and before church, the band would just be up there, just playing just good old fashioned country music, whatever it was,
Sweet Home Alabama, and, whatever,
Yeah, and so it's and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I also don't think there's anything necessary. We don't do that anymore, obviously. And I'm not one of those that be. Cowboy Church is all about we want people who wouldn't go to church to come to church,
right?
And when they say wouldn't go to church, we're in the middle we're the buckle of the Bible Belt, and you go to and every church, every town has a Baptist church, a Methodist church, a Catholic church. There's a dress code, there's certain appearance, and it's not, nobody says it, it's just no,
right?
Hey, you go to the Baptist church without a suit, without a jacket and tie on, man, they might ask you to leave,
yeah,
and that's ridiculous,
right?
Patently. And it's all everybody American church is kind of chilled a little bit with that, I think. But there are plenty of people out here that would not, people who were in the bar on Saturday night were like, oh, I couldn't go there. They're not, they don't want me there. The Cowboy Church is supposed to be like, we want whoever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like you come in high, dude. I don't care. Just get here.
Yeah.
Let us be part of your community. And then we could probably need the whole podcast episode to talk about what church is and should be.
Right.
Because on the one hand, church, the gathering of the believers is not supposed to be an outreach in that it's not supposed to tailor to the world and how people want things to be. But it should never be unwelcoming either.
Right.
If people come into church and be like, wow, this is different, and I want to know more about it, it should be because they see how Christians treat each other and they treat each other different than everybody else treats them.
Right.
We need to treat them better than they get treated when they go into, especially somebody who's dealing with substance or whatever else, but treat them better than they get treated at the car dealership or the bank, grocery store or whatever else. Which is kind of tough because East Texas is a polite place. But it goes back to that being that genuine care. Like, I care about you more than I care about me.
Yeah.
Because Jesus cared more about me than he did about himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gospel. It's how you live.
Yeah.
Our worship pastor is about to drop, and I don't know when it's going to happen. He's about to drop a heavy meal of a sermon on what worship actually is. Worship is how you live your life. It has nothing to do with music.
Mm-hmm.
We sing songs of praise in church. His title is worship pastor. He's like, but our worship is supposed to be our bodies as a living sacrifice, acceptable to God in everything that we do, not just standing there in church and and it's probably going to hurt some people's feelings. I'm helping him write it because this is something that I'm passionate about too. But he's just kind of like, man, the music is just a symptom of the worship that should be going on in our everyday lives. And the biggest form of worship is, Jesus said,
that's true.
You fed me when I was hungry. You gave me water when I was thirsty. You sheltered me, clothed me, and took care of me. Like, that's worship.
Mm-hmm.
That's worship in spirit and truth, like Jesus told the woman at the well about.
Mm-hmm. So true, man. Yeah, a lot of people have a misconception of what worship is. A lot of people just think it's just the music. A lot of people come to church just for the music. Some people worship the worship. I hate to say it like that and sound real old school.
No, you don't. Don't say it that. Don't be bad. Like, that is 100%. And we've been dealing with that. Of course, now that we've gone pretty modern with our production, I guess you would say. There are old people at the church that just like, oh yeah, man, I just didn't really like the worship today. And I'm like, and they're like, we want you to play more hymns. And I'm like, I'm not in charge of that. And also, it's okay. We weren't worshiping you. So, right. or one old lady, and I was in a unique position, but it's still amusing. This lady, and I think she's 97. So they're not changing her mind.
Sure, no.
But she came up to me on Sunday before service, and she's like, "Mike, when are you going to sing again?" I hadn't sang in a couple months. I was just playing guitar. She's like, "When are you going to sing again?" I was like, "Man, I sing every day, all the time." She's like, "You know what I mean?" I was like, "Well, I mean, not really." And she's like, "When are you going to sing in here?" I was like, "I don't know." Like, well, I really prefer it when you sing. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
However, like, it's not about any other. It's like I was like, I am in the entertainment space. I have a band, and if you want to hear us play, you can look at our Facebook and you come see us. Like,
come on to the honky tonk.
Our shows are free. Like, when we played at the Orchard, there was no cost of admission. You come out and listen to a 3-hour set. I did an hour acoustic, whatever. We did gospel.
Yeah.
We did a couple hymns in like Merle Haggard fashion. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you can hear all the stuff that you want to hear. You just want it here.
Yeah.
You want to control what goes on here.
Right.
And I'm not in charge of neither of you.
No.
I was like, so, if you want me to sing here, you're just going to have to wait. But if you want to actually hear me sing stuff that's like actually tailored to this baritone voice of mine, I do that elsewhere. It's just not here.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you want.
Yeah.
Like, church is not an entertainment. If you think worship is about entertaining you, you have missed the boat.
Right.
And by a long way. Like, the boat is out of the harbor. The boat is gone. And
Yeah, and I see that a lot with the older generation at the church I'm at right now. We do modern music, but then we also, like, the pastor's daughter, a phenomenal vocalist. She sings more of, it's more like black gospel. She's got a huge voice, and she also kind of going with the whole band and playing. I mean, she has her own band where she plays weddings and stuff, and they do secular music, and she leads worship every Sunday, so they don't care. But the church is ran by a family who used to be the Paynes. It's Mike Payne.
You told me about that last time.
So every now and then, before the sermon, they'll get up there and do a Southern gospel song with a track that they have. I mean, they bought this expensive thing where all their tracks are in it forever. I don't know what it is. It's really old, but they just hit it and it just works. So they play a Southern gospel song, and I know sometimes they do that to accommodate the older people who are the heavy tithe payers in the church. They're the ones that are actually opening up their wallets and paying money. These younger people, not so much. And you got, at the end of the day, a church is a business. So let's,
we could jump off that cliff.
Oh, for sure.
So that same 97-year-old lady, when Cole was brand new, and like he was actually an interim worship pastor before he signed off on like, yeah, I'm going to be here tenure type deal. And she was up there, and I think both of us were sitting there, or maybe he wasn't there, but she said something about, a lot of the old folks really like the old hymns, and I was like, yes, ma'am, I'm partial to them myself, but like I said, I used to build the sets, and I don't do that anymore. And she's like, and since this boy is new, she calls him this boy. He's 30 years old. Like, calm down. Like, everybody's a boy to you, I guess, when you're 97. But like, this boy needs to understand that the old people give a lot more money.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, oh, maybe. and then Cole told her later on, she's like, we do give more money to the church. And he's like, all right, I'll go get the church secretary, and I'll have her pull your giving records, and I'd like to refund you that money. Because you don't pay for entertainment in my church.
That's a good one.
Like, oh, and he's like, and I'm gonna guess it's probably not that much.
Yeah.
There are a couple people in the church that is known.
Yeah.
So, who has money and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Those people have never complained to me about the music. Right. I don't know if they've never complained to anybody, but they're not like that. And then the other thing, pulling 1,200 people on a given Sunday. And we have so many people that tithe in cash.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we don't even have an offertory. There are 2 barrels on either side of the sanctuary, and people just put whatever they're going to put in there, whatever they're going to put in there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to keep track, the church secretary does keep track, and she'll give you a tax statement at the end of the year if you ask for it. So that's fine, whatever. But I mean, it's one of those things. Kind of like, lady.
So you say 1,200 people. You see, I'm not used to. Well, I have played in churches like that, but my church that I'm kind of was just describing, we're running like 200 people. So they probably
then you usually do have 1 or 2 families that are kind of keeping the lights on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know there's one that's an heir to oil rig in Texas somewhere, and her grandfather. She inherited all this money from him or whatever. I don't know. So I know that she's like definitely keeping that church going. But
and the little church just down the road. Like I kid you not. Like their parking lot is probably 500 yards from the end of my driveway.
Mm-hmm.
A dear old lady, and she was a friend and a neighbor, and kind of helped me out when I had some crazy people trying to tell me that they bought part of my land when they didn't, and that was a whole other story. But she was always very nice to me, but she was a shark land-wise.
Yeah.
And she passed away this past spring. She was also like in her mid-80s, but she passed away, and like I don't know how that church is keeping their lights on without her.
It's wild.
There's like maybe one other family or one other couple. Other than that, they're a family. Older couple, probably also if they're tithing, but like, and that church is like 20 people. 30 people.
Well, we're all living in a simulation. This isn't real. I'm kidding. This is there was a video I saw, and not to kind of throw you off. There was a video I saw. This dude was walking through the mall, and he's like, "This is all a simulation. This store is selling rocks. Like those rocks with like the crystals." And he's like, "This store is employing. It's paying 2 employees, and they sell rocks." And he's like, go to this one. This store sells earrings. How the hell do they stay it open when they sell just earrings?
Right.
It is kind of weird when you think about that. Anyways, not to completely derail what you were saying, but
no, it is. And like if we want to get real metaphysical with it, because I love this shit, and I listen to Joe Rogan sometimes, but like the whole like just talk about extraterrestrials.
Oh man!
Like depending on who you believe,
right,
or what you believe, and you could talk about your theology too, because like the government is trying to tell everybody like, oh, UFOs are real. Back when everybody's kind of like, is COVID on purpose? They're like, wait, UFOs, man. But I'm more interested, like, so even if you talk about like, is there other intelligent life in the cosmos?
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much about that known existing universe we do not know. So it's easy, probably for especially a smaller mind who's some people, they're just afraid of big ideas. Like some people, like you literally start talking about how big the known universe is, and they get visibly rattled. They're just like, oh, I don't know, it's really scary. It's like, yeah, kind of is. I know the God who made it is bigger, so that doesn't worry me that much.
Right.
But there is so much we don't know, or so much that we're learning about our own DNA, cells. That it's just like that doesn't. How it's easy for somebody to be like, I've seen this in a movie, and it was just like we're all plugged into a computer, and we're all just this construct, and it's especially if you don't believe in a God, if you don't believe in a unlimited creator, then you've got to have an explanation for everything. And our minds are so small compared to the universe that we have to like put it all in these little boxes. And on the other hand, if it's like, well, God made it, like, how does that work? I have no idea. If I understood it, he wouldn't be God. It's like we're in a computer simulation. Like, I can see why you think that.
Yeah.
You don't know yourself. Am I just this created figment inside some sort of AI universe or something?
Yep, everything's AI now, including us. I love it. Well, hey man, I actually do have a barbecue I got to run to, but
nice.
I've absolutely
it is the holiday, and my wife's been cooped up on the other side of the house with two small children. She's not complaining.
Yeah,
she's finishing her master's.
Okay,
she's finishing her master's right now, and so every Wednesday from about noon to 4, I take the kids anywhere but here so that she can do this. She's taking her capstone in her master's education master's is on augmented and virtual reality in the education application. So she's always on her like meta headset, doing the whole that thing. It just looks goofy as hell, but I mean it's a good class, and it's obviously the wave of the future.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I think we're gonna take them and get some fresh fruit, make a little supper, and just enjoy the day. The heat index is 103 outside.
Ooh, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's been warm.
Yeah,
here.
baby.
It's been warm. Yeah. It's been it's been
a lot of fun. I honestly I almost messaged you earlier. It's like we haven't really talked about what we're going to talk about. I was
know.
Like, you know what? Screw it. This is way more fun. This scratches my creator itch, and it's kind of like we're just going to talk about whatever it goes.
It
works for Joe Rogan. For Joe Rogan, right?
It does. It works for all podcasting. Really, you don't know where to start, and next thing you know, you're talking about AI and alien invasions, and you go, yeah, it's crazy. You jump from subject to subject, so it's fun, man.
Thank you for having me on.
Dude, thank you for being here.
Of Ohio.
Yeah, and this was again Michael Butler, the great state of Texas. And thank you again for coming on, man. I got to have you on more and more. Hopefully, I'll have a better setup. I'd like to have you on when I have actually my co-host here sometime. Maybe
that'd be awesome.
When he's here, he's a lot. He is a talker, so he will have so many questions. I just know it, and he loves talking. We both grew up in the same church together, so you know how that goes. So
yeah,
it would be like the same thing, us talking. So yeah, man, let's do it again. And thanks for coming on, my man.
Appreciate it, dude. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Good one.
All right, you too. Take care. All right. Yeah. And that was Michael Butler. I'm going to go ahead and close things off right here from this seat. Hopefully things are still recording. I don't know. So, well, I will talk to you guys soon. I'm trying to think of anything else happening. I don't think so. I think I got it all out there in the open. I don't know when this will be out, but it'll be out eventually. So yeah, I will talk to you guys soon. Later. Hey, thanks again for joining us on Your Drive Home podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. And also don't forget to follow us on all of our social medias. We will talk to you guys soon. Until then, drive safe.